See that? I don't know if you can see that at home, but there's a nice little mark right there. That's the center of the club face. That's a good spot to hit it. Today, we take all of that hard work that you've just put in for the first 3 videos of this series, and you start bringing it to light. You start learning how to take that hard work and start hitting real good golf shots with it. And I know that this sport is incredibly frustrating, and the reasons why a lot of you struggle to actually get better at this really frustrating sport is 2 reasons, and 2 reasons only. The first one being is that you are working on the wrong things at the wrong time. You work on things that are not pertinent to your DNA because the golf instruction world promises you and promises you and promises you, and it's really sexy. I'm gonna be honest with you. Some of these titles and some of these thumbnails that come along with this stuff, it looks magnificent. But at the end of the day, what you have to remember is you have to change you, and you're very different than any other person that's out there. But the real reason why most of you struggle to get better at the game of golf, let's just say you are working on the right things, is because you miss the one key component that playing professionals are so really good at, and that is learning how to practice properly. Your practices need to be meaningful. Your practices need to be not about how you're hitting the golf ball and where it's going at first. Your practices need to be about you and how you're changing a movement pattern. The biological processes that you have to go through in order to get better at the game of golf is something that we can't override. As much as the golf instruction world wants to tell you that they can't override it, it's not gonna happen. But today, we're gonna show you exactly how you should practice. But on top of that, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna empower you even further as a golfer. I'm gonna teach you how to make the correct adjustments on the fly. I'm gonna teach you why certain mishits pop up. I'm gonna teach you how to work through a protocol here today that's going to kind of help bring the 3 metrics that we would really quantify as being a good driver of the golf ball. And that's your contact, your accuracy, and your speed. We're gonna help you find that perfect blend of those things, but we're gonna help you make yourself accountable for your actions and know when it's right to put the foot on the accelerator and when you should take the foot off the accelerator. And I think that's a pretty exciting day for a lot of us at home because you're now taking that foundational work that we just laid down and you're now starting to build into it. You're starting to create a better future for yourself. And I'm excited for you, and I'm excited that you're gonna go on this ride with us. Now strap on your seatbelts, let's get to work. How you doing? Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Make sure you're subscribed. Oh yeah, just like those guys, make sure you're subscribed to the channel as well, and make sure you leave us a like, and if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to post that up below. And step number 1, where we dial in our contact, here's how I want you to think about it, is that we're gonna be trying to hit 10 golf balls here, and we wanna be at least 70% where we hit it right in the center of the club face, if not as close to the center of the club face that's considered tolerable for you and your skill set. So today, I'm gonna kind of expand out a little bit, and I'm gonna be using a spot that's right around the center of the face, but there's a little bit of toe tolerance and a little bit of heel tolerance. And if I can get that magical number of 70%, then I can advance into step number 2. Now, if you followed the video series that I've been putting out here, I've been putting them out in the exact order in which I'm teaching you here today. I'm putting out in a way that's gonna help you alleviate mishits. Think about what we did in video number 1. Video number 1, what we did was we worked on your setup position, and we worked on getting you to load and unload quickly without having your spine move into extension. So many of you lose sight of how the spine can actually influence your ability to be able to hit the center of the club face. And a perfect example is that if I have the center of the club and the ball lined up with one another, and I'm making a golf swing with some zip, and I start pushing really hard off of my right leg, bringing my right hip forward, spine moves up, spine leans back, I'm gonna now drop the club to the inside and I'm gonna expose the heel of the club to the golf ball. It's a very common miss. So you can understand that it's important for you to be able to keep the main system working properly in this first section and keep the smaller systems like your hands and your arms and your shoulders very tension-free and let them respond to what your body is doing. We're not concerned at all in which the direction is heading from any of these shots of these first 10 golf balls. We're worried about staying connected to our body movements and our tension levels in our hands and our arms. If our body shuts down and we're not doing these movements properly, then your smaller systems are gonna pick up the pace and they're gonna start making it very hard for you to get things lined up, and you're gonna have a magnitude of misses. So our first goal here is to create really good, solid contact. Now, how we're gonna do this is we're gonna follow a very specific protocol. And I'm gonna go ahead and take my driver and I'm gonna take my setup here, but I'm not gonna stand in my normal setup position. I'm gonna start by isolating and start to shake out the tension in my left shoulder, my left arm, and my left wrist. So I'm just a little bit closer to my 7-iron or my 8-iron stance, and I'm just gonna make some small swings that are gonna be done just above hip high to hip high. My goal here is to get connected to my arms swinging freely. And if you think about or see the club on its way through, it's hitting the same bit of grass every single time. And I'm not trying to influence it. I'm just keeping everything chill, okay? And normally I don't like for people to string reps together like this because it's incredibly difficult for you at home to be consistent with your swing plane and your path and with the club face. But again, the purpose of this is just to get connected to the tension levels. Once you get connected to the tension levels, I want you to start dialing it in a little bit further. And I want you to think about the club being toe up on the trail side of the body to toe up on the lead side of the body. And if you need to follow it with your eyes, you can do so. But if you have good command of that tension level being down and getting the club to swing from toe up to toe up, now you can add in the final component, and that's when we start to move with a little bit of freedom of movement here with our body. So the way that I like to do this, without having to think about all the stuff that you learned in video number 1, is I like to consolidate the thoughts. We're gonna be going weight, pressure to our right ankle, turning back, pressure to our left ankle, letting our left arm swing through and release. And when we're doing that, we're keeping our head and our chest down over the golf ball. And we're gonna do this for a series of reps here where we know we can stay connected to it. So my right hand's gonna go behind my back so I don't cover the mic. Okay, so that's 1 rep. Okay, I'm making 9 to 3 swings here. Making sure that I can feel my pressure move to my right ankle, my left ankle, and I'm staying down over the shot when I'm doing it. Tension levels feel good. Okay. Pretty connected to it. Now I'm gonna bring the right hand back to it. I'm just gonna make 1 practice swing here, feeling like my right hand can be a backseat passenger. If I'm really connected to it, I'm gonna address the golf ball, and I'm staying focused on not hitting a big shot. I'm not worried about the direction. Okay? So right there, I just hit it a fraction low on the face, okay? But it was out of the center of the face, but it was just a fraction low. And I didn't produce anywhere close to my full speed. In fact, my ball speed was way down to 118 and my swing speed was down to 83. But what I had was good contact that produced a ball that came off the face with some zip to it. I did this in a way where I didn't have something influencing the path or the face to path, and I made sure that my body was working in a way where the club could get itself lined back up without me having to work on it. This is a very tricky part of this process for a lot of you because you're gonna try to hit it really far. I don't care where the golf ball goes. I care that the body felt exactly the same way. Think about what I just said there. When I do this reps, when I just had you go through this protocol, so left arm swings, okay, I've got awareness of my left arm and my left shoulder. Now I'm starting to add in the body components, okay, and I can feel like that's really, really good connection to it. When the right hand comes back to it, you're still staying connected to those movements. And if it feels right, then go ahead and challenge yourself and do it again. Okay, that one was hit even better. Just a fraction towards the heel. Speed was a little bit faster than I probably wanted. But overall, very good quality strike. So again, we're not trying to hit good shots. We're trying to make good swings, and we're trying to hit good solid contact. I don't care about where the ball is going. We care about creating connection. Every single rep counts. So you start out by going through your tension levels. Now I'm gonna get the wrist dialed in to make sure it's perfect. Now I'm gonna add the body in. So right heel, left heel staying down. Okay, so I'm feeling my pressure move through my feet. I'm staying down in the shot. I'm trying my best not to let my head and my chest come up. Okay, once I feel it, I'm good connection to it. Take the right hand, let it rest on the side of the club. Okay, feels like a left arm only swing. Let's see how we do. Okay, so that was hit a little bit higher in the face, still in my tolerance zone. Actually, maybe a little bit outside the tolerance zone, believe it or not. So I hit it high in the face because I was probably a little bit steeper on it. Okay, yep, it definitely was. So I'm not panicking. Okay, I'm still focusing in on the things that matter the most. So tension levels, club face, and now making sure that we can go through a loading and unloading procedure where we're not coming up and out of posture. We want to grade ourselves on our ability to be able to do that first. Before we grade ourselves on our ability to be able to hit the center of the club face. So that was perfect, right out of the button there. So the big key to remember here in this first section is that what we're trying to go after is body awareness first to create solid contact second. Now, if you were lucky enough to be able to hit your first 5 really good and solid, then you should be well on your way into step number 2 at this point. If you were lucky enough to get 7 out of 10, then you can start to work your way into step number 2 and start adding in the accuracy component. But for those of you that didn't get 7 out of 10, then there's a pretty good chance that your main system wasn't working properly. And I would strongly suggest that you stop doing what you're doing right now and go back and watch video number 1. Get your body to go through the correct loading and unloading process. Create awareness around that. And then you can come back to section number 1 and try again. Check things on camera. Check it really closely. If you look at it from a down the line perspective and you notice that your hips are open 45 degrees and your shoulders are square at point of contact and you're not moving into a vertical spine position or early extension, then you probably need to have a professional eye or a pair of eyes looking at it so that we can identify what sort of anomaly is being created that's creating that sort of mishit in your golf swing. But I can guarantee you this, if you have a good setup position, like we outlined in video number 1, and you have a good loading and unloading process, and your small systems like your hands and your arms are tension free, there's no reason why you shouldn't be hitting the center of the club face at a high frequency. Let's get into step number 2. Now we're gonna start really dialing in our accuracy component. We're gonna start dialing in our shot shape to be kind of like what we wanna see in a stock shot environment. Now, a lot of you at home like the idea of being able to hit a high draw, and a lot of you wanna just hit it straight. In my case, I've hit a draw for way too long in my life. I hit a high draw that turns into an overdraw, and I've been consistently working on trying to hit a much more controlled fade from my side. So today what I'm gonna be doing in this second step is me personally, is I'm gonna be working on what we did in video number 2, where I started working on the draw bias, the straight ball, and the fade bias. I'm gonna be now working on trying to feel what I did in just step number 1. I'm gonna start feeling a fade bias swing. And I'm gonna start doing that with a great deal of practice swings before I hit each and every one of my golf balls. And I'm gonna be trying to hit 5 golf balls really, really close to a target that I have picked out. But when we do this, we're gonna give ourselves, again, just like we did with the club face, we're gonna give ourselves a little bit of a gap here, or a little bit of a tolerance window. So when I look out here, I'm gonna be using the telephone pole out in center field, and I've got it set up to where the red flag on the right and the red post on the left is kind of my tolerance window. It's a very narrow window. I'm trying to hit shots that end up inside of that window. And if I hit a good percentage of these golf balls, these next 5 balls that I'm about to hit inside of that window, then I'm gonna start ramping up the speed and get into the performance practice at the tail end of this when I start really trying to put my golf course stuff to the work here. So here's how we're gonna do it. So much like we did in that first step, we're gonna start out by shaking out tension, left shoulder, left arm, left wrist. We're gonna start adding the system in here, okay? Now in video number 2, if you remember, I had you think about where the shoulders were pointed when the release started to help you get your path in line. Okay, so I feel my left shoulder pointed more to the left. Okay, and now I'm gonna really start dialing in my posture, make sure I'm staying in the shot. Okay, I'm gonna bring the right hand back in there. Okay, again, I'm not focused on my body, or I'm not focused on the golf club, I'm focused on my body movements. And I'm gonna see if I can make things feel exactly the same. So I'm working at about 75% speed. I'm pretty connected on those movements. So I feel my weight shift, I feel the left arm being tension free. Now I've got the path in mind, and I'm just gonna go ahead and try to hit a shot here, focusing in on my body movements and staying connected to it. Okay. So I had a really, really big pull fade that started outside of the window and turned back in. Went 245, hit right out of the center of the club face. So 0.6 on path. Okay, so not bad. So I'll take that. It's accurate, it's in the zone. So again, now what we're gonna do is go through the protocol. So first thing we start out with is we're gonna work on our tension levels. So left arm is tension free. I'm adding in the system of movements. So right heel, left heel, release. Okay, now I'm gonna add in the same thing now with just my path. So my left shoulder is getting left. Okay, now I'm making sure I've got it all together in my brain. So it's left arm. Okay, pretty connected to it. Almost identical shot. Okay, so that landed right on the far right-hand side of my window. Turned out to be pretty good. So already, my practice session is becoming meaningful to me because I've hit 2 shots that are kind of on that fade bias that I've been working towards. I've hit the golf ball closer to the center of the face, albeit that one was a little bit back towards the heel. And I know that I have something that I can start to try to put to the golf course as I go further and further into this process. So the whole key that a lot of you lose sight of is that you're so worried about the result down here. You're so worried about where this thing is going or how it comes off the face, but you're not worried enough about what your body is doing. All of this protocol that I'm giving you is exactly what you should be trying to feel. So we're gonna go through it again. So I'm gonna shake out tension. Yes, this is gonna feel mundane to a lot of you. It's gonna feel boring, but when you start actually playing better golf, okay, start adding the system. Right heel, left heel, staying in posture. Right heel, left heel, release. Now I'm adding in the path. I want to get more path there. Okay, tension levels are a little bit high. Okay, right hand now can come back to it. Okay, feels exactly the same now. Okay, feels good. I'm gonna go ahead and hit a shot. That's the best one of the 3. So everything we're doing so far in these first 2 sections is technically practice-minded. It's literally taking the stuff that you learned in those videos, but giving you a way to kind of create some feel around these movements. Your feels are always gonna be very different. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this and turn this into a realistic situation. This is where I start putting the performance practice to mind here. I've just worked on the technical practice. I've got myself a good feel for things. I feel like I'm swinging the club pretty well. Now I'm gonna start putting it to the test. And this is where I start going through my exact pre-shot routine that I use in the golf course. I start taking that window that I was looking at where I needed to get my ball inside of, and I shrink it down into that mentality of aim small, miss small. So right now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be aiming it right at the telephone pole, and I'm gonna be trying to hit a straight golf ball that has maybe a little bit of bleed in it to the right, just because that's what I've been drilling and that's what I've been trying to see out of my window here. So how it's gonna work is I'm gonna stand back here. I'm gonna start to look at my target. Okay, now from this position, what I'm gonna start to do is I'm gonna turn my body here and make a couple practice swings, thinking about the components that I just worked on. The left shoulder, left arm. Make a couple practice swings, kind of feeling it all together. Okay, I feel good. I step back, I'm gonna give it one more look. I'm keeping my eyes on the target. I'm walking in. I'm still seeing and feeling that swing shape that I just created in my brain. Now I'm looking at the target, and now I'm starting to visualize the shot shape and the target, not thinking about mechanics now. I'm just gonna do my best to make the best swing that I can and assess the situation. Okay, that was hit pretty good. All right, so we have club head speed 109, path 0.7, face to path 0.4, angle of attack was 6.9 up. So what you want to remember is that angle of attack can play a role in where you're hitting it on the face. If I get too up on it, then I can hit it more out of the bottom of the club. Let's see where the club location was. Yeah, it was really out of the bottom. So rather than me trying to tee the ball higher, I'm actually going to tee it a little bit lower. And teeing it a little bit lower is going to help me not go into so much lateral side bend and tilt. Okay, so taking that, get those movements in my brain. Okay, so I'm gonna let you in on a little secret here at the end that I think is gonna help you with your misses. Because again, a lot of you get home, get kind of lost in the opposites of this game. If you're hitting it a little bit towards the heel side of the club, okay, just know that there's a pretty good chance you're coming too far from the inside in most cases. Okay, so if you're hitting it a little bit too far back to the heel, then what you wanna remember is that you could start to drill like you worked on in video number 2. You can start working on a path that's gonna be a little bit more to the left, making sure that you don't have yourself coming into extension. So have the path work a little bit more to the left, make sure you're not coming up out of posture. For those of you that are hitting a little bit more towards the toe side, then there's a pretty good chance that you might be coming across the golf ball a little bit too much. So what you want to work on is creating that sort of in to out or that draw bias swing, making sure that you're still maintaining your posture. Work on adding that into that step 2 or even in this step number 3 to try to see it and feel it, and that should help you alleviate the heel and the toe miss. Now, in that same sort of mindset, hitting the ball a little bit high in the face is not because you have the ball teed too high. In fact, it's quite the contrary. Generally speaking, a lot of people will hit it high in the face because they come down too steep. When you come down too steep, that's what side's going to be exposed. Coming down too shallow or creating too much of an ascending blow, like I've been creating, is going to force me to hit it a little bit low in the face. So what I want to do is I don't want to continue to tee the ball up higher to get it more towards the center here. I want to actually tee it a little bit to the lower side to make sure that I can go and get down and get it so that my spine isn't trying to tilt away from the target. Remember, accurately identify your misses and have a good protocol in place, and you're going to be a much happier golfer because your practice sessions are now meaningful.